Welcome to Hull & Estates and Succession Planning, a series of podcasts hosted by Ian Hull and Suzana Popvic-Montage. The podcast you're listening to will provide information and insights into estate planning in Canada from the offices of Hull & Hull in Toronto. Here are Ian and Suzana.
Hi, and welcome to Hull & Estate and Succession Planning. You're listening to episode 215 of our podcast.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi there, Ian. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, and yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
Well, that's great. Well, today we want to talk about transitions in cultures, and we see it a lot with families. As we all know, sort of as our families grow, and my family moved from sort of toddlers into teenagers, and they'll move on to the next stage of life. We all as parents have to adapt, and we have to adapt our estate plan in that way. And we also, of course, see transitions in business. We see transitions in politics. So we're going to talk a little bit of that and talk a little bit about how the courts will have been dealing with a couple of interesting recent approaches to transitions. So the first thing we got to do is talk about the new mayor. We have a new mayor in Toronto.
Yes, we do.
It's great, and it's exciting times. Whether we like him or not, it's a new blood down in City Hall. So we're anxious to see what he's going to do and see where our city goes.
Well, they say change is good, so it's just it's good that we've had the opportunity to see it live before our faces. And so much change is going on in our daily lives and in the hustle and bustle of life in general. So it's good to sometimes take those moments to actually think about, what that change is going to mean. And you mentioned at the outset, in terms of our estate plan and in terms of our just life in general. So.
And it's so true, because we can talk about transitions in big steps, and then we can talk about short-term transitions and short-term changes. And of course, a mayor changing in the city is a flashpoint and an automatic change. And in fact, today we heard in the news that the transition team is moving in. So there's a team for a transition. But in life, we don't have those kinds of luxuries. But it does help us sort of remind ourselves anyway to maybe we should be rethinking of our estate plan and rethinking about how we can do that. And in doing that, we have been really having some interesting times here in our firm even, because we've been trying to, in our own way, work a family meeting. And we look at the necessity of running a feedback model within a business as a vital component to our day-to-day operations, like we would always have like we have always said with our family meetings. We have looked for those as being a formal opportunity to give feedback.
That's right.
And give feedback to the heads of the family.
Yeah, all as part of the dialogue and encouraging people to talk about things that they wouldn't traditionally have otherwise talked about.
And even, feedback. Everybody that works in the business community is focused on making sure that their team understands, and there's transparencies and there's expectations that are managed and not managed. But a silent office doesn't make any sense. But yet we go home and we have a silent home. And it's unusual that our natural instincts are in the business community to really focus on communication. And what we've tried as well in the office here, which is sort of an interesting tool, it's a business tool, but one that I think helps demonstrate the importance of the need for meaningful communication in a formal way, is we've been just using a new program that's called Ripple, and it's RYPPLE, it's ripple.ca, and it's a feedback model. And it's a feedback model that makes us document specifically the feedback within the members of our team.
And so one of those great pieces of technology that we've introduced into the system, because we are certainly in the midst of a bunch of change internally as well with our document management system, our very stringent attempts to go paperless. And so having this opportunity to do an online feedback conversation with individuals is part and parcel of that whole project.
And it comes back to our estate planning. I mean, why aren't we having, we can't help but ask ourselves, why aren't we having these kinds of documented and meaningful and pointed moments in time of feedback between ourselves and our family?
And it's really funny you say that, Ian, because you're so right. The business world is made up of those kinds of conversations, those kinds of exchanges, and yet when we come to our families, it's a very different environment. So we see a lot more of this kind of professionalism being injected into the process. And
what if we can do is professionalize it and regularize it, both in the estate planning dialogues we're going to have and in the business dialogues that we have, it seems to pay off. And we know it pays off in the business environment. We've seen the results in the business environment. The experts say it does. So why isn't it paying off in the family environment? Well, I think it's partially because we're not trying hard enough.
That's right.
Another neat thing we've been working around here as well as you said, the paperless model. And we're stepping away from, well, for a lot of good reasons, but we're stepping away from moving paper all day long. And that doesn't necessarily transition well or tie well into estate planning, because we still need paper for some of the estate planning process, like a will. But what it does is, again, it illustrates how we're trying to take a teamwork approach to a problem that we all have the same goal, and that is transfer of family wealth. Well, we want to transfer paper within our office environment. And the feedback model that we were talking about, the Ripple.ca program we're using, and other methodologies we're using, has really helped us. And as I say, I think it can transition really well and easily into the real world of a family.
And just to sort of come full circle in terms of our firm's experience, we also have our our knowledge management system. And we talk about sharing feedback, sharing information. Here's the perfect way of taking the hard copy of knowledge and sharing it with others within our firm, so that we can complete that entire circle of that exchange.
And it's so true when you look at the estate plan, and when someone gets into a situation where they don't even want to show their family the will, or they don't want to show their family the corporate structure of the family, or they don't want to show their family the shareholders agreement that their kids or minor kids are involved in, or whoever. It's about transparency and putting those documents on a safe cloud, and having the access to the internet is one methodology that we found clients will do, and that we try to download the information exchange, have it available to the family to look at as and when they feel they want to look at it. So you have it accessed in a private way and through the internet. And again, I mean, it's just about the feeling that at least it's there for me to read or understand. If I want to, I can choose to hire professionals to help me understand it. But if we can download that information, make it available, it, again, in a paperless way, can help tie the bonds together and make sure that people get rid of some of these basically superstitious feelings about suspicious behavior on the part of any of the family members.
And it does still bolster that whole teamwork environment, or that feeling within the family that those documents, that information, that dialogue can be exchanged with everyone who wants to participate in the process.
So we've taken a little bit of our world of business and tried to import it into our world of family and estate planning, and we've learned some good lessons in the business community, business environment that we think have translate well in our efforts to effectively and properly estate plan. So thank you very much, Suzana.
Thanks to you too, Ian, and I look forward to our next podcast.
You have been listening to Hall on Estate and Succession Planning by Ian Hall and Suzana Popvic-Montage. The podcast that you've been listening to has been provided as an information service. It is a summary of current issues in estates and estate planning. It is not legal advice, and you're reminded to always speak with a legal professional regarding your specific circumstance. To listen to other Hull & Hull podcasts or leave any questions or comments, please visit our website at hullestatemediation.com.